In this video, we're going to talk about the recently announced changes to the MM2H My Second Home program in Malaysia. A lot of people have been interested in this first after they upped the requirements and then they cancelled the program and then they brought in a new set of requirements that didn't get cabinet approval. But we're hearing now that this latest announcement does have cabinet approval, so this should be the final version, and we're hearing that there should not be any changes for at least a few years. So in this video, we'll look at what has changed in the MM2H program going forward. We'll look at the various tiers, the various membership levels of the program, and then we'll have a look at some of the other features and considerations that you might want to take into account when deciding whether this program is a good fit for you or not. And we've got full details of all the changes over on our website. I'll put a link in the description if you want to go have a look at that. So let's get into it. First, what has changed with the new MM2H program, the announcement made in June 2024? Well, one of the big changes is that there is, in addition to the three categories that were announced in December of 2023, there was the silver, the gold, and the platinum, there is a new category for special economic zones and special financial zones. The minimum age has been lowered from 30 years in the December announcement down to now 25 years of age. But if you're applying for the special economic zone, it's even lower than that, which we'll cover in more detail shortly. Perhaps the biggest change announced with the new version of the MM2H is that there is now a mandatory property purchase requirement across all membership tiers. And not only do you have to buy a property, you also have to hold it for minimum 10 years, but you can sell that property before the 10-year mark provided that you are upgrading to a more expensive property. The income requirement is still gone. A lot of people will be happy about that. That is one of the things that was pricing a lot of people out of the visa previously. And one thing that we pretty much knew that was coming is that the PR option, the permanent residency option of the platinum tier has been scrapped. Apparently that was one of the main points that was preventing the previous announcement from getting cabinet approval. So that's gone now. Now on the old version of the MM2H, you had to stay 90 days minimum per year. That was reduced to 60 days in the December 23 announcement. It's been put back to 90 days, so no change essentially there from where it was previously. Another change to the platinum tier is that they're giving participants full work and investment rights in Malaysia, whereas you won't get that on the low level tiers. This is a feature that is quite similar to what you get on the PVIP visa. So now we'll give you a breakdown of the main features of all the different tiers. So the first one is the silver MM2H. For that, you need a minimum 150,000 fixed deposit requirement into a Malaysian bank. There is a participation fee of 1,000 ringgit, and as I alluded to above, there is no work rights on the silver MM2H. The property purchase requirement for the silver MM2H is minimum 600,000 ringgit. That's around 128,000 US dollars on today's exchange rate. As I said, you have to hold for at least 10 years. One thing to take note of here, even though the minimum property purchase is only 600,000, many states, for example, if you want to buy in KL, they will require a property purchase of at least 1 million ringgit. So you need to take note of that. You can withdraw 50% of your fixed deposit, so that would be 75,000 US dollars after you get approval of the visa, and then you can use that to fund the purchase of your property. Of course, you're gonna have to kick in a bit more money, but at least you don't have to wait a year to get that money out like you had to on the previous version of the visa. This money can also be used to fund education, medical, and tourism expenses. It's a 5-year visa, and it is renewable at 5-year intervals after that initial 5 years expires. And one thing to note here is that you cannot bring your maid on the silver MM2H. Under the old set of rules, anyone could bring a maid from overseas, so that's not the case anymore for the silver. The gold MM2H is a minimum fixed deposit of 500,000 US dollars, participation fee 3,000 ringgit. Again, there's no work rights on this visa for the gold version. The minimum purchase amount for the property is 1 million ringgit. That's around 212,000 US dollars. The gold visa will get you a 15-year permit into Malaysia, and it's renewable at 5-year intervals on expiry of that. And similar to the silver, you cannot bring a foreign maid with you. Now the platinum MM2H, this is where things get a little bit more expensive. So the fixed deposit here, 1 million US dollars. That's a fair chunk of change in anyone's language. It has a participation fee, again quite high, of 200,000 ringgit. The main difference here is that the platinum visa allows you to work, full worker rights in Malaysia. It allows you to invest in Malaysia. This means that you could essentially hire yourself in a business, you can apply for jobs, and you don't have to get that work permit that a lot of people would have to get otherwise. Whether or not that's worth an extra 200,000 ringgit and $1 million fixed deposit, I don't know, probably not. It certainly doesn't cost that much to set up a Malaysian company and get a work permit. The minimum purchase price for your property on the Platinum Visa is 2 million ringgit. That's around 424,000 US dollars. This visa will get you a 20-year permit to live in Malaysia, and that is renewable at 5-year intervals upon expiry of that. And with this one, you can bring your maid with you if you have a foreign maid from overseas. Now, the new category that a lot of people will be interested about is the Special Economic Zone and Special Financial Zone tier of the MM2H. So this one has a different set of requirements, but you have to base your property and base yourself in the Special Economic Zone. So currently there's an East Coast Economic Zone, there's a Northern Corridor Economic Zone, which includes Penang. Another one that a lot of people may be interested in is the Johor Singapore Special Economic Zone, which is currently under development. Now, for this version of the MM2H, if you only have to be aged 21 years of age compared to 25 with the rest of the program. And if you're between 21 and 49, you have to provide a fixed deposit of only $65,000. And if you're over 50, the fixed deposit is only $32,000. The participation fee is 1,000 ringgit. One thing you do have to be aware of here with the property requirement is it doesn't have a minimum threshold amount per se, but you do have to adhere by the minimum thresholds on a state-by-state basis. So all the states in Malaysia have a minimum purchase requirement for foreigners, regardless of whether you're on the MM2H or not. You don't need to be on the MM2H to come in as a foreigner and buy a property, but you have to spend the minimum amount. So for example, in the KL Federal Territory, that's 1 million ringgit. But the big thing here is if you're entering this program under the Special Economic Zone category, you have to purchase your property directly from a developer. So that's from the primary market, it can't be from the resale market. So that might be a little bit restrictive for some. It means you're buying overhang properties that are in oversupply, which there is quite a lot of in certain areas of Malaysia. So just take note of that. And this visa will give you 10 years in the country. Some other features of the program include you can bring your dependents. That includes your spouse, children, parents. We're not sure if it's going to allow you to bring your in-laws, as was announced in the December announcement. We also aren't sure what the cutoff age is for your children are allowed to bring in, because that was increased to unmarried children up to the age of 34 also in the December 2023 announcement. We haven't heard on that yet exactly how that's going to happen, but we know spouse, children and parents in some form or another can come with you. There will be tax exemptions on funds brought into Malaysia, which a lot of people will be interested in, and there will be a medical checkup required. So you'll need to be in reasonable health in order to be applicable to apply for this visa. So they're the basic requirements. We'll give you a bit of a rundown now on our final thoughts. It's good to have some certainty. We've been waiting a long time for this. A lot of people have. It's really good to have some certainty back in the program after a lot of announcements, backflips, false starts. Apparently this is the final version, so we hope it is. It'll be good for everyone. It'll be good for the industry. It'll be good for the country and people wanting to move here and bring money in, if that is the case. It can be a good visa if you have money. Of course, you have to have some money here to make it worth your while. And if you want to have a base in KL and set yourself up with a residency permit, this can work for you. We like that they have this new option here for the Special Economic Zones. It gives you an option to come in with a much lower fixed deposit. Of course, you're still going to have to fork out money for a property, but it potentially allows you to get into this program a lot cheaper than you could have done in the past. There could be some issues around this requirement on the Special Economic Zone property purchase to have to purchase from the primary market. There could be some resale issues there. If you have bought property in a particular state or in a particular Special Economic Zone for a certain amount, and then if you want to resale down the track, what happens then if the amount that you've bought the property for, if that's just if locals can't afford it, if you paid like a foreigner price that only foreign money can afford, but you won't be able to sell to a foreigner because they have to buy from a developer. So you could potentially be stuck with a property that might be difficult to sell down the track. So that's something you need to consider as well. The fee for the Platinum does strike us as being very high for what you get. So you need a $1 million $1 fixed deposit. And you also need to purchase, you can take 50% out of course, but you have to purchase a property, like I said, for 2 million ringgit, and you have to put in a participation fee of 200,000 ringgit. And what do you get? You get your 20 years, you get worker rights, but what are you really buying there? You're not really buying worker rights. There's definitely cheaper ways to do that. You could set up an SDN BHD Malaysian private company, get a work pass, hire yourself, get a permit to live in the country. That's a cheaper way of doing it. It will also potentially be cheaper to set up a level 1 company, get a work permit, get your ticket into the country that way. So while not having to apply for worker permits under the Platinum visa, it doesn't really justify the high costs in my opinion. But then again, if you've got the money and you just want to put your money down, get your 20 years, that can be renewed, then it might be a good visa for you, but it is still quite a lot of money. While a lot of people will be happy to see the income requirement gone, a lot of people will be put off by this program with the new property purchase requirement, because that is quite a lot of money. It's a big commitment as well, and you pretty much know that you're buying into an oversupplied market. There's no guarantees that your property will be worth what you paid for it down the track. So while it does make sense from Malaysia's perspective to soak up a bit of this oversupply to stimulate the property development industry, all these things are good for Malaysia, but whether people are happy to put their money on the line, that's another thing. You're not really going to go into this doing it to make money. This is going to be a lifestyle choice. If you want to cement your place in the country as far as is possible, but also have your own home there if you don't want to be in rentals. There are a lot of people that will apply to, but there's also a lot of people that just prefer to rent, and a lot of people who aren't willing to put this kind of money into another country. So we'll see how it goes in time, but I think for now, at least, the Sarawak version of the MM2H is going to remain very popular. If you want to learn more about that, we've got videos about that. We've got articles up on our website. That one currently does have a 12 to 15 month waiting list on it, simply because the financial requirements are so much lower. Anyway, we'll leave the video there, guys. If you want to learn more about what we do, head over to offshoreinasia.com. You can read our articles, you can send us an email, you can book in a one-on-one consulting call. Anyway, we'll leave it there. Thanks for watching. Catch you later.